Welcome back for another video. Sorry for the lack of uploads this week, not been feeling very well, but feeling good now. Just in time for the Gameweek 24 episode of the Experts. In this series we send questions to hundreds of FPL managers and content creators with some of the best rank histories ever. Every game week we look at their transfer plans, captaincy, the experts team and more. So if you'd like to follow this series and other content on the channel, make sure you're subscribing. Right before we get into it, today's video has been sponsored by Fantasy Football League. FFL is a new, free fantasy game for iOS where you can play fantasy football in multiple leagues at the same time. If you want a front three of Messi, Haaland and Lewandowski, there's nothing stopping you. Or if you only trust your Premier League knowledge, then pick an FPL based team. There's no right or wrong way to play. You can select players from the Premier League, La Liga, Champions League, Serie A and many more. Click the link at the top of the description to play now with me, and the link will also auto-join my mini league. Big thanks to Fantasy Football League for supporting the channel, and you can support the channel too by playing. To get the app and join my league, click the link below or go to ffl.co/fplfocal now. Starting off with the manager highlight, and the top ranked experts David Vostil, who scored 76. It wasn't enough for a green arrow, but he still sits at an incredible rank of 515th. His total points for the season are 1,563. The average expert score last week was 78, well done if you were able to beat it. So let's look at the experts transfer activity ahead of Gameweek 24. It's been a long while since we've seen so many rolled transfers. 82% are rolling the transfer this week, 14% making one transfer and 4% making two transfers. Transfers are precious, and if we look at the ticker for the next two game weeks, it's obvious why so many experts are biding their time. We've got a single Gameweek 24 now, followed by Gameweek 25, which is both a blank and a double. Information is everything in FPL, and you want the most up-to-date information when making a decision so you're more informed. Therefore, if you're able to roll the transfer this week, you can attack Gameweek 25 in the best possible way. Yes, we know Salah's been disappointing at times, but if he looks good this game week again after scoring last weekend, then suddenly it's a temptation to bring in and even captain for a double game week. Or likewise, if you're not happy with your Arsenal assets, then taking two transfers into Gameweek 25 allows you to do a lot. On the other hand, there's always a chance of a player picking up an injury in Gameweek 24 that could rule them out of Gameweek 25. So if a transfer can wait, then it might be sensible to give it a week. Nonetheless, 18% of the experts are making one or two transfers, so let's look at which players. Among those making a transfer, 25% are bringing in Tarkowski. We saw on the ticker before that Everton have a double Gameweek 25, and if your defence is in bad shape, he is usable this week home to Leeds, and Everton won't blank in Gameweek 25 either down the line, which will be the biggest blank game week of the season. Salah's been picked up by 17%. We talked about his disappointing season, but really it's not been as bad as many have made it out to be. 32 games in all competitions, 18 goals and 8 assists, so 26 returns in 32. In the league he's got 8 goals and 5 assists in 21 games, so 13 in 21. So it's still a captaincy consideration in 25, and that will be interesting to see next week. The most sold is Wilson, who unfortunately missed the Bournemouth game entirely last week, which could have been a great game for him. All other players have been sold equally: Mahrez, Shaw, Cancelo, Edison, White, Martinelli, De Bruyne, Fernandes, De Gea and Botman. Since there's not a significant amount of transfers this week, there's perhaps some noise here. And Gameweek 25 will be a week where we really need to read into the data to look for trends, and there will likely be a record number of transfers made, so make sure you subscribe for that episode. The wildcard free hit and bench boost chips are largely untouched at this point, while the triple captain is 92% used. The chip strategy conversation has picked up recently, particularly after the announcement of double Gameweek 27, where Brighton, Brentford, Crystal Palace and Southampton double. So why is chip strategy relevant now? The challenge is that in Gameweek 28, immediately after that double, it's the biggest blank game week of the season, as per Ben Crellin's graphic here. In essence, Southampton, Tottenham, Man City, West Ham, Brighton, Man United are over 95% likely to blank. Brentford and Leicester around 80% likely. So at first glance, the likes of Matoma, Estepinian, Tony, me all look like great picks for the double Gameweek 27, but they are very likely to blank immediately afterwards. One chip strategy I'm warming up to is to wildcard in Gameweek 27, load up on Brighton and Brentford players, perhaps 2 from each, and then use the free hit in Gameweek 28 before your team reverts back to how it was for Gameweek 29, which should be the biggest double game week of the season. This allows you to tackle 3 significant game weeks with 2 chips. Optionally, if you have a strong bench, then you could bench boost in Gameweek 29 as well. We don't yet know the double Gameweek 29 fixtures though, so the picture will become clearer nearer at the time. If we bring the conversation all the way back to Gameweek 25, which is next week, This chip strategy does also allow you to attack Gameweek 25 risk-free with Liverpool assets, even though they may blank in Gameweek 28. There are trade-offs though, which is that by loading up on Liverpool, you're fully committed to that chip strategy. Let's say you own Trent and Salah, plus many other assets that end up blanking in Gameweek 28, then you can't really afford not to use a chip, as you might be fielding 7 or 8 players max. Gameweek 32 will also be a big blank game week, not as big as Gameweek 28, so the other trade-off to this plan is that it'll be an extremely tough week to navigate with a free hit and wildcard already used. So an alternative plan is to prepare for Gameweek 28 using free transfers until then, and if Liverpool don't end up blanking it will look better, and then you could wildcard into Gameweek 29 instead. So yes, although Gameweek 28 and Gameweek 32 are far away, there is a knock-on effect to what we do in Gameweek 24 and 25. We'll talk more about it more in next week's video as well. A quick look at the experts' captaincy for Gameweek 24. This week 91% are captain in Haaland and 9% Rashford. Two very nice fixtures on both counts. Man City are away to Nottingham Forest while Man United are home to Leicester. Both opponents actually are in a decent patch of form, with Forest lost last game week, the only in their last 5, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, while Leicester beat Spurs for 2 wins and a draw in their last 3. Champions League has become a factor again though. Man City play RB Leipzig away next Wednesday, while Man United play their second leg against Barcelona next Thursday, which is 2-2 in aggregate. Rashford's average minutes per game is 82 this season, Haaland 76. Not a huge gap, but we've seen Haaland withdrawn early in games that are wrapped up early, so there's no reason to keep him on the pitch if they're 3-0 up to Forest after 60 minutes for example. This is perhaps the line of thinking for the 9% that have gone for Rashford captain, and of course the big upside if it comes off. Moving on to the experts team reveal for Gameweek 24, and this is the team built from their highest owned players, and the team is as follows. It's a very expensive team again this week, but it should level out by next week. It's a 3-4-3 of Kepa, Shaw, Trippier and White, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Saka and Rashford, and Nketiah, Haaland and Kane. It's Haaland captain and Rashford vice. White, Saka, Ødegaard and Nketiah's ownership are very close, so one does need to drop out to avoid a quadruple up. So 49% owned Fernandes makes it over 57% Ødegaard. But let me know if you agree, or if you'd rather see a team of highest owned players regardless of the quadruple up. We should see an interesting shake-up to the experts template team next week when those hundreds of rolled transfers get spent. We'll finish up with the experts' insight and tips for the Gamemakerhead as always. FPL Coup says there's a number of good captain picks this week with Kane and Rashford both at home, which means some decent gains if you're brave enough to go against the crowd of Haaland. Trippier also has a benching headache, Shaw 2.0 written all over it. If you caught last week's episode, Jez went for a very bold Gabriel captaincy. He's captain Rashford this week and he says, well, Gabriel captain didn't work out too well, Rashford hat-trick to make up for it. Hot Nights United says, huge audition week coming for Liverpool assets. Wednesday 21 says, now we're in an extended phase where engaged managers can plan their way up the ranks. Time to get the spreadsheets and planning tools out. FPL Josh says, I'm making a move this week if we get early Arsenal team news and Martinelli isn't starting. I'm looking to free up funds so I can triple up on Liverpool in Gameweek 25. And lastly, FPL Greg says, hurting from Gameweek 23, don't want to talk about it. That concludes this week's experts video, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for weekly content to come for the rest of the season. See you soon for the next one.